You have heard it your whole life. Maybe you have even said it. Black people can't swim. And right behind it comes the explanation, delivered like a fact of science. Our bones are too dense. We're too muscular. We can't float. Our bodies just aren't built for the water. I want you to hold on to that idea for the next few minutes. The idea that this is about our bodies, because I am about to show you that it is one of the most backwards lies ever told about us. Here is the truth. When Europeans first sailed to West Africa in the 15th century, they were stunned by what they saw. Africans swimming with power and ease, using a crawl stroke that European swimmers would not adopt for another 400 years. The people of West Africa were among the finest swimmers and divers on the face of the earth. And the Europeans, most of them couldn't swim a stroke. So sit with that. The ancestors did not come here afraid of the water. They came here as masters of it. When slave ships wrecked, and about 1,000 of them did, it was the Africans who swam and survived, and the white crews who drowned unless a black hand pulled them out. Enslaved Africans were such extraordinary swimmers that they were forced to work as pearl divers and salvage divers, going under the ships to recover cargo no European could reach. The single greatest swimmers in the Atlantic world were the very people we now say can't swim. So the real question, the question this whole story turns on, is not why can't black people swim? Who took the water away? Because we did not lose it. It was stolen. And once you see how and why, you will never hear that stereotype the same way again. To understand why the water was taken, you have to understand what the water was. On the plantation, a river wasn't just a river. It was a road. It was the one border a patrol on horseback couldn't easily follow you across. And the enslavers knew it. There is a name you know, the Underground Railroad.
Is there a solution to the human problems that typically keep us bound up, enslaved? Can we find our own Underground Railroad?
And the story goes that it got that name in 1831, when an enslaved man named Tice Davids escaped from Kentucky by swimming across the Ohio River to freedom. His owner, chasing him to the riverbank, watched him vanish and said it was as if he'd gone off on an underground road. The man swam to his freedom. During the Civil War, enslaved people stole boats and swam half a mile, out to Union ships in the dark, trading bondage for a chance at liberty with every stroke. Water was the enslaved person's ally. A person who could swim was a person who could run. And that made a swimming slave a dangerous slave. So slaveholders did what the system always did with any power we held. They severed it. If the water was a road to freedom, then the water had to become a place of fear. Access to rivers and creeks was restricted. The skills stopped being passed down, because the masters had every reason to make sure it wasn't. And think about what that means across generations. A grandmother who was never allowed near the water can't teach her daughter to swim. That daughter can't teach her son. In just a few generations, a people who had arrived as the best swimmers in the world could be cut off from the water entirely. Not because anything changed in their bodies, but because something was done to their lives. This is the first theft. The water, which had been ours, which had been a source of skill and pride, and even escape, was turned into something to be feared. And that severing set the stage for everything that came next. Because when America built its love affair with swimming in the 20th century, black people would be standing on the outside of the fence, locked out at the exact moment the whole country dove in.
In the 1920s and 30s, America fell in love with swimming. The government built around 1,000 grand public pools across the country, palaces of water, the center of summer life, where a whole generation of Americans learned to swim and passed that skill to their children and their children's children. There was just one rule, written or unwritten depending on the town. The water was for white people. Black Americans were shut out. The pools weren't built in our neighborhoods. When they were nearby, we were barred, or allowed in one day a week before they drained and refilled the pool as if we had dirtied it. The nation ran a massive Learn to Swim campaign, and it sailed right past black communities. So swimming became a white family tradition, handed down like a name, precisely because it was denied to us. This is the crucial thing to understand. The gap didn't open because we walked away from the water. It opened because we were locked out of it. At the one moment in history when America was teaching itself to swim. Then came desegregation, and with it the ugliest chapter of all. The one that tells you this was never really about water at all. When the courts finally ordered the public pools open to everyone, white America had a choice: share the water or destroy it. Over and over, in city after city, they chose to destroy it. Rather than swim alongside black neighbors, white families abandoned the public pools entirely. They fled to the suburbs and dug private pools in their own backyards. They built private swim clubs with membership rules that kept black families out by another name. After Washington, D.C. desegregated its pools in 1953, more than 100 whites-only private swim clubs opened in the next 10 years. Between 1950 and 1962, over 20,000 private swim clubs opened across white suburbia. And the grand public pools that were now, legally, open to everyone. Cities let them rot. They slashed the budgets. Cleveland cut its recreation funding by 80%, and the pools cracked and emptied and closed by the hundreds. Read that again and let it land. They would rather pour the water out onto the concrete than let a black child swim in it. That is not a stereotype about black bodies. That is a documented decision made by other people, to drain the pool rather than share it. The empty, cracked pool in the black neighborhood is not evidence of what's wrong with us. It's evidence of what was done to us. So now we arrive at the lie, and at why it exists. Because here is what a society does after it commits a crime like this. It needs a story to explain the wreckage that doesn't implicate itself. If you lock a people out of the water for 300 years, and then drain the pools rather than share them, you are left with an obvious, visible result. A whole community that never learned to swim. Now, you can tell the truth about why. Or you can point at the result and say, see, it's their bodies. It's in their bones. And that is exactly what was done. The claim that black people can't float, that our bones are too dense, that our muscles are too heavy for the water. That is not science. It is scientific racism. And it comes from the very same poisoned well that was dug to justify slavery itself. The same fake biology that once said our bodies were built for the field, now says our bodies won't hold us up in the water. It is the identical trick. Take a condition that white supremacy created and relabel it as nature. Because if it's nature, then nobody has to answer for it. Their bones are dense is a lie that lets everyone off the hook. The cities that drained the pools, the country that locked us out. The myth about the body exists to hide the crime in the history. And this lie is not harmless, because a stereotype, believed long enough, becomes a cage. There is a swim instructor named Paulana Lamagnier who set out to teach black adults to swim, and one of her students told her, dead serious, I can't swim because my bones are too dense. She had believed the myth so completely that she'd accepted her own body as the reason, and had never tried. How many of us carry that? How many never got in the water because we were told, from birth, that the water wasn't for us? And it is costing us our children's lives. Today, 64% of black children have little or no ability to swim.
Black children between 10 and 14 years old drown at more than 7 times the rate of white children. 7 times. In 2010, in Shreveport, Louisiana, a 15-year-old named DeKendrix Warner slipped off a ledge into deep water. His family jumped in to save him. His brothers, his cousins. Not one of them could swim. 6 of those children drowned that day, in the same water, reaching for each other. 6. That is not a stereotype. That is a body count. That is the price, paid in children, of a lie about our bodies and a history nobody wants to look at.
So let's put the lie down, all the way down, and pick up the truth instead. The truth is that the water was never our weakness. It was one of our first and greatest strengths. Before the pool was drained, before the fence went up, before the slave ship, our ancestors were the finest swimmers alive. Gliding through the surf with a stroke the rest of the world would take for centuries to learn. Swimming is not against our nature. Swimming is our inheritance. It was stolen. The way so much was stolen. And then we were handed a lie to make us believe we'd never had it at all. But you can take a lie back. You cannot change your bones, but you were never going to have to, because there was never anything wrong with your bones. All you have to change is the story, and then get in the water. But before we go get it, I want you to go back with me, one more time, to that river in Shreveport. To those 6 children in the water, reaching for each other. I want you to understand what you're actually looking at when you see them. You are not looking at bad luck. You are looking at the last inch of a rope that was cut 300 years ago. In a country that took the water from their great-great-grandparents, drained the pool their parents were finally allowed to enter, and then told all of them it was their own bodies that couldn't float. Those children didn't drown because of their bones. They drowned at the bottom of a lie. And every single one of them could have lived if just one person in that water, in any generation before them, had been allowed to learn the one thing their ancestors did better than anyone on earth. That is the grief under this whole story. Not just what was stolen, but who it cost. The children who were never taught, by parents who were never taught, by a country that made sure of it. So when I tell you the ending is in our hands, I don't mean it lightly. I mean that somewhere out there, right now, is a child who is going to slip into deep water on a summer afternoon. And whether that child comes home is being decided today by whether the adults who love them ever learn to reach in and pull them out. This is the one of all our stories where the ending is literally in our hands, because the cure for this particular theft is so simple it's almost holy. Get in the water. Take your children to the pool. Put a 4-year-old in swim lessons and break the chain in a single afternoon. Because a child who learns to float becomes a parent who teaches their own child to float. And just like that, 300 years of theft ends in your family, forever. Across the country, Black swim coaches and Black swim clubs are doing exactly this. Reclaiming the water, one child, one adult, one lap at a time. Teaching people who were told their whole lives that they'd sink, that they were always meant to float. Do not let another one of our children drown reaching for a sibling in water none of them were taught to survive. Do not hand your kids a lie about their own bodies. Hand them the truth. That they come from the greatest swimmers the world has ever known. That the water is their birthright, and that it is time, long past time, to go back and take it. The pool was drained on purpose, so we will teach our children to fill it back up. The water was always ours. Let's go get it.